Hi boys and girls. This lesson is actually going to be on stems, but I want to show you one thing before I start. Today I was checking everywhere in the classroom to try to find my food coloring, and I think I took it home because I was afraid it would get everywhere. So I couldn't find any here, or I used it all, which is a possibility. But I looked and I looked and I looked, and I had no food coloring, and I needed some. So my plan was that I was going to go and get food coloring at lunch. And I went to the store, but I completely forgot to get the food coloring. And then I remembered something that I know. I've been saving these markers that don't work anymore. You know how your markers dry out? Well, these markers, I have a whole tub of them. And since I needed blue, I went ahead and put several of them into a jar of water. That's all this is. It's a jar, it has water in it. And I just soaked the markers in here, and in doing that, I was able to turn the water blue. And now I can take these out and recycle them. Now it's going to take me a second to get out of there. Ugh. But I learned this trick a long time ago, and the kids and I have used this to watercolor paint. You guys know how you paint with watercolor paints? Well, using Crayola markers, you can kind of make your own. Boy, that blue got all over me. I'm trying not to get it on my clothes. So now I have this bottle of blue water, and I brought a paintbrush over and a piece of paper, and I thought I'd show you. Now, my suggestion is put the lid on it. I didn't bring the lid over here, so mix it up real good, because see how the bottom is darker? But if you take the lid and mix it, your color will be more vibrant. But I'm just gonna, I can use this, actually, I don't know, maybe I can reach down there and stir it. The longer I would have left my markers in there, the darker blue the water would have gotten, I'm sure. But now I can just use that to paint with. It makes a watercolor paint that is nice and blue. So I'm just gonna paint on the paper real quick and just show you. It's a little see-through, but it makes a watercolor paint. So if you have old markers that you're not using anymore, you can do that. So now I've got my blue water. That's what I was going for. So let's get on to stems. Now, before I begin, do you guys like to eat stems? Any of you ever eat stems? I love stems. Can you think of a stem that you might eat? What is a stem that you eat? Well, I brought one of my favorites. When we read this story, I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about it. Or read this book, Stems. Plants need stems. Stems join the leaves and roots of a plant. Most stems grow above the soil. Leaves grow from stems. Stems hold leaves up to the sun. Leaves make food out of sunlight. Stems act like straws. They carry food from the leaves and roots to the whole plant. All kinds of stems. Tall, woody tree trunks are stems covered with bark. The bark protects the stem. Strawberry plants have long, thin stems. The stems creep along on top of the soil, and they start to grow new strawberry plants too. Tulip bulbs are underground stems. So if you ever plant tulips, there's a bulb, and that's a stem. That's a part of the stem. Stems we eat. Some stems are good to eat. Celery stems are a crunchy snack. Asparagus stems grow quickly. These stems are called spears. Wonderful stems, woody or soft, thick or thin, Stems help plants stay alive. There's parts of an oak tree, leaves, the stem, the roots, and the seed. So an oak tree grows from an acorn. That is the seed for the oak tree. So when squirrels carry those around and bury them, they actually will be planting some. So I brought in some stems I like to eat. I have some celery here. And I actually bought this kind of celery. Sometimes you buy it and it's already chopped. But this is the one that I wanted to show you because I was excited about it. So sometimes when you buy celery, they've already cut it for you. But this one has the bottom where they chopped it from its roots. So celery, we eat the stems. Up here you have the leaves, right? I'm going to go ahead and take one of these celery stems. And I told you I made some blue water. You can make your own blue water with water and food coloring. And I'm going to stick my stem down in this water. And I'm going to observe it for a few days. It says in the book that the stem carries things from the roots to the leaves. And we know that the roots suck up water, right? So if we look at this over a few days, we should be able to see what happens. Now you can do this with a flower too if you have a flower. I'm just going to use the celery, but if you cut a flower out of your yard, you can also stick it down in water. But I want to see what happens if I can see the blue water coming up the stem and into the leaves. And if you watch it for a few days, you should. I actually feel, I know this sounds crazy, I almost feel like I already can start to see it. That can't be right. No, it's just the colors reflecting. So I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to watch it for a few days and I'm going to see if I can see how stems work to carry things up to the leaves. Now, side note, you may not have known this, but if you buy celery like this and you chop the celery off to eat, you can plant this part in your garden and it will grow new roots and it will grow new celery. I've done it before. Sometimes when you buy lettuces and things that are like this, where they've just chopped them off, you can cut them at the bottom, eat whatever you want on the top, and plant the bottoms of like a romaine lettuce or a celery you can plant in the garden and it will grow new celery on it, which is so cool. Anyway, that's just a little extra tidbit. But if you are able to do this experiment with a stalk of celery or maybe even with a flower, it will show you exactly what happens when a stem carries the water and the nutrients up to the leaves. I hope you enjoy it. Bye.